ruling over the reconstituted Sith Empire from his capital of Dromund Kaas. The Emperor and Dark Lord Vitiate allowed his government and servants to administer the realm while he stayed in the background, focusing on the higher pursuits of the dark side and Force. Though most greatly feared the Emperor, seeing him as a terrifying, all-powerful god, dissent and betrayal were inevitable facets of Sith philosophy, causing some few to peek beyond the veil of his shadowy persona and brave the dangers of his immense power to attempt rebellion and overthrow this powerful leader. In 4606 BBY, a subtle but dangerous threat to his power emerged when the Sith Keleth-Ur started exploring the light side, developing and preaching a philosophy which embraced peace for long-term stability over the powerful short-term strength of passion and wild emotions. Becoming a light Sith, his ideas ventured toward those of the ancient Jedi, and so Keleth-Ur was killed before his teachings could spread, with his remains sealed away in the Dark Temple. Before it was locked down and abandoned, this temple not only served as a home for the Emperor's deceased enemies, but also stored dangerous items and artifacts like the Ravager, a torture device so powerful it could infiltrate the mind of great Sith Lords like the Dark Counselors. Among the most prominent dark side threats to the Emperor's rule, there was the rebellion of Vodal Kresh, a descendant of the legendary Sith Lord Ludo Kresh, who challenged Naga Sadow for leadership of the Empire before their defeat in the Great Hyperspace War. Failing to overthrow the Emperor, Vodal fled to the planet Athis, where he spent the rest of his life raising an army of slaves. The Kresh bloodline then continued their campaign of rebellion when Exal Kresh, a female descendant of Ludo Kresh, was selected as the apprentice of the Emperor and trained as a powerful Sith Lord. Though she was content in her position, her master planned to make her the first of his children, individuals that would surrender their physical bodies to the Emperor's will. Unwilling to be a mindless slave puppet, Exal Kresh rebelled and fed information to her master's enemies in the Great Galactic War until she was finally killed while attempting to sabotage the Sith Academy on Korriban. Of the Empire's many failed rebellions, one of the most infamous came when the Dark Counselor Darth Locus rallied support from all 11 colleagues who agreed to face their enemy together. However, the Emperor easily killed 11 of the 12, leaving only their leader to be thoroughly tortured before her death. Though some did attempt to overthrow the Emperor, other ambitious Sith focused on more achievable goals, like in the year 4043 BBY, when the Dark Counselors, Darth Kalar and Darth Victin declared a Kageth, a ritual duel to the death in which the winner claimed the possessions and prominence of the defeated. However, one of the only rules for the Kageth declared the fight must not harm the Empire. This rule was broken when the duel of Kalar and Victin accidentally destroyed the Imperial Citadel, causing the rest of the Dark Council to combine their powers and eliminate both the Sith Lords. Placing Darth Nostrum in charge of the project, a new Citadel was built to the Emperor's exact specifications. When it was complete, the Emperor tested its defensive labyrinth by trapping Nostrum in the building's depths, where he died, unable to find the exit. Despite the numerous attempts to end his reign, the vast majority of people accepted the Emperor's right to rule as the strongest Force user alive, including other powerful Sith Lords like Raptus, Bestia, Brontus, Calpheus, Styrak, and Tyrants, who worked together and developed a variation of battle meditation, allowing them to induce fear among entire armies. Presenting their findings to the Emperor, he was pleased and gave them each the title Dreadmaster, allowing them to serve as advisors and generals of the Empire. Haunted by memories of the Great Hyperspace War, many of those individuals who fled the original Sith Empire held great hatred for the Jedi and Old Republic that defeated them. Yet after 1,000 years under the rule of a seemingly all-powerful emperor, knowledge of these ancient events was lost, with newer generations entirely unaware of these former adversaries. But Vitiate never forgot, and from the beginning of his reign planned to one day take vengeance upon their light side enemies. Although the ultimate truth behind the Emperor's motivations were not entirely understood, his goals seemed to evolve over time, becoming less attached to traditional light versus dark side teachings, exploring larger ideas and possibilities. Fundamentally, the Emperor seemed to have three main objectives which framed every action he took throughout his life. First and foremost, he sought immortality, not because of some philosophical need to master life and death, but rather because of a primal and visceral fear of dying. Secondly, he sought to become and remain the most powerful being in existence, with complete mastery over the Force and creatures of the galaxy. His final goal was far less ambitious and extreme than the others, yet went on to give him the most difficulty, as he had an unyielding desire for entertainment, a need to keep himself active, seeking moments of pleasure and fulfillment to help pass the endless years of his life. Through the ritual anathema, Vitiate came close to achieving his first two goals, becoming seemingly immortal and immensely powerful. However, there are those who believe the energy absorbed by the Emperor did not provide true immortality, and instead simply extended his life by centuries or millennia, granting large but finite levels of power, which is why he occasionally had to renew his strength by consuming other worlds. As a result of this need, some came to believe the ultimate goal of the Emperor was to consume all Force energy in the galaxy, granting him true immortality and untold powers, after which he might venture into other galaxies and continue his conquest. However, there are others who believe Vitiate instead planned to consume individual planets only when necessary, while at the same time ruling over the rest of the galaxy as an all-powerful God Emperor. With these larger goals in mind, Vitiate spent the many centuries of his reign building up the Sith Empire so they might conquer the Old Republic, and when he felt ready in 3978 BBY, began the early stages of the invasion by sending an emissary to contact Mandalore the Ultimate, leader of the Mandalorian people who prized battle above all else. Explaining that the emissary's master had a vision of Mandalorian victory over the Republic, the Sith agent used the Force to manipulate the Mandalore's mind, convincing him to wage war against this galactic superpower. Although the Emperor knew they had little chance of success, he used the Mandalorian Wars to test Republic defenses, watching from afar and learning all he could about their capabilities and tactics. Invaded by a powerful enemy, the brave and highly skilled Jedi heroes Revan and Malak emerged to lead Republic defenses, growing ever more ruthless throughout the conflict, leading them away from the light side and toward the dark. When the masterful and brilliant warrior Revan at last defeated and struck down Mandalore the Ultimate, the dying leader spoke of what started the war, revealing the involvement of a larger, greater power manipulating events from the shadows. Investigating this larger danger alongside his best friend Malak, Revan eventually learned about the hidden Sith Empire and all-powerful Emperor seeking to conquer the galaxy. Thought of as war criminals by the Jedi Order who disagreed with how they waged the Mandalorian Wars, Revan and Malak chose not to inform the High Council about what they learned, instead deciding to end the threat themselves by traveling to the unknown regions in search of Dromund Kaas. A special thanks to all those who contribute to Civilization X, like Sith Ben 24, Barachado, Daedry Dragon's Wit, and Tio the Iron Banker. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/civilizationx, where you can gain early access to videos, vote on future content, and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.